What happens when you put the world's best Yasuo and the world's best Zed in the mid lane? Well, what you get is a red-hot display of mechanical prowess. What's up, GameLeap? The Jizz, back at it, and PZ Zhang, the #1 Yasuo in the world, and Z99, the #1 Zed in the world, just went head-to-head in Korean Challenger, and we are going to break down everything they do so you can do the same in your games. So we're going to start by watching Zhang's side of the lane, and one thing you can do before the lane starts is cue the air. This will warm your fingers up, but Zhang is hiding in this brush because he doesn't want to give Zed the chance to throw a shuriken at him for free, so he only shows himself once these melee minions are last hittable. But watch how he moves. It's like a zigzag motion, and this is purely to make it harder for Zed to land his Q. If you run in a straight line, you are going to get hit by pretty much everything. So he last hits this minion with his Q, but then expects Zed to use his shuriken because if you look in the bottom left, Yasuo's Steel Tempest is on cooldown. So he looks at the 99, and as soon as Zed starts this Q animation, Zhang knows to move down to avoid it. He then last hits these last two melees and has his tornado stacked, so he stands parallel to these ranged minions, pressuring Zed if he runs up. Now, why do you think the Zhang moves back and forth here? 1 second he's behind this ranged minion, then he's standing outside of it. Well, there are two reasons for this. One, the enemy jungler started at his red buff, so Zhang wants to stand towards the south side of this lane. The second is that it almost baits Zed into throwing and wasting a shuriken because Zhang can easily dodge it at this range. Then when the second waves collide, Zhang moves up but does so behind his minions, so if Zed was to land a shuriken, it would deal a lot less damage. Now he commits a little mistake here because he stands in line with this blue ranged minion, and at this exact time, Zed wants to Q this minion, but Zhang also wants to last hit this red ranged minion. But if he was to auto attack it, he would get hit by Zed's Q. So he avoids it, but he does miss 14 gold. Now Zhang hits level 2 and immediately looks to damage Zed. So he E's through this minion, auto attacks, Qs, and then auto attacks very clean, and then he E's back out. Beautiful trading. And Z99 then makes a big mistake. So when I pause it here, what can you see? Well, the 99 just used his Q, which means if Zhang fights him, he has 2 cooldowns against 1, and guess what? That's exactly what he does. Zed does not have anything but auto attacks and his E, so this trade is a hard win. Now when this ends, I know for a fact that pretty much every other Yasuo player would E through these minions to trade with Zed again. Now there are two issues with that. Graves may well be near the mid lane, and Yasuo does not have his passive fully stacked, so the fight can be lost. So Zhang doesn't risk anything, and even Qs this last minion, so he is out of range of Zed's Q. Now after shoving this wave, one nice little trick you can do, try to Q the enemy raptors. If you don't get a stack, you know the enemy jungler has done them, so knowing this, Zhang pings the enemy wolf camp, and because he knows Graves is bot side of the map, he then wards it. Now what's also great about this is that he does not miss any minions. Now Zed just made a mistake, and we'll look at that when we watch this lane from 99's POV, and Yasuo rightly pulls the wave a little bit so the minions collide between these two rocks. This is the ideal position, but because this is high elo, Graves helps Zed push the wave so it eventually resets. Now Zhang has two options here. He can recall because the next wave is a cannon wave, so he won't miss that much if anything if he bases and returns to mid, or he can just stay to shove one more wave because it gives him a better gold value. And this is what he does, but he actually cucks himself big time here. Instead of backing off behind this wall or to a spot that probably isn't warded and isn't that accessible for Zed, he backs in this brush. This is really close to Zed, and the likelihood of this being warded is pretty high because Graves has ran through here, and this allows Zed to interrupt his recall. This forces Zhang to stay for another wave when he could have been walking back to mid with new items. This is just really inefficient. Now level 6 is about to roll around, and this is where things get very dynamic. Now Zed just used his W, so if Yasuo does fight, there is an excellent chance of winning. The issue again though for Zhang is that the rest of 99's team is in fog. The enemy Graves might be near mid, the enemy support and AD carry might be in the bot side river looking mid, so he just E's in and out, and then anticipates Zed's W to be close to coming off cooldown, so he adopts a much more defensive position. Now this is also great because Alistar is looking to gank Zed, so by letting the wave come into him, Zed has to move further up and they pick up the kill. Now Zhang hard shoves as he should, but makes a grave mistake in the macro department. This tower plate is 160 gold, so if he needs that gold for a major item, no worries, and then stops his recall because the enemy Trundle is caught out, no worries. But when Trundle makes it over this wall, there is a very good chance chasing him will result in death. Simply because Zed is back on the map, Graves may well be here, and Zhang himself is sitting on a ton of gold. At the end of the sequence, he does kill the Trundle, but he dies and misses 2 minion waves in the process. Now the next big fight that takes place is going to show us one thing, how important it is to know your champion's strengths and weaknesses. With Yasuo, his passive and wind wall, these are the two big factors. So when Zhang goes in for a cheeky trade, he might not have his passive, but he does have his wind wall, and against a skill shot champion like Zed, as soon as Zhang W's, Zed's damage is completely nullified. Now another edge of the seat fight is about to take place, and we have to remember that Zed used his ultimate during that last one, so when Zhang lands his tornado, this is one ultimate against 0, and he almost kills the 99. In any matchup, cooldowns are important, but especially in ones like these. Now Zhang's game plan for every single minion wave at this point is simple: shove and then roam. This gives him first move on the map, but unfortunately this fight is not a good fight for the blue side. Why? Well, they are simply simply outnumbered. It's a 3v4 because the enemy support Trundle is here and Alistar is not. So even if Mr. Zhang plays this fight as well as he can, which he does, there is a very slim chance he makes it out alive just because the enemy team has more abilities at their disposal. Now Zhang is about to die in the mid lane when he returns despite being a level above the 99. Now he has his wind wall for this fight, so why does he lose it? Well, as the game progresses, champions get stronger and their ability to one-shot becomes greater. So the big mistake Zhang makes is using his stacked Q on these minions. This triggers Zed to blink to his W shadow and all-in Zhang. But it's also a trigger for the enemy Graves to come in and gank. He has his tornado at the end, but it's not up fast enough, which shows you how the tiniest of mistakes can cost you your life in this elo. Now just before we watch Z99's point of view of the laning phase, watch how nuts PZ Zhang actually is. He somehow manages to kill Zed in this 1v3. I reckon that deserves a like. Now speaking of Zed, let's watch his POV. Now at level 1, because Yasuo isn't in the lane, Zed can hover on the equator of the rift, giving himself a chance to Q Zhang when he actually shows. Now he can very well Q here, but it's a little tough to land because Zhang isn't that close and he is also zigzagging, making it harder to hit. Instead, 99 holds his Q and executes a very nice technique here. Just before auto-attacking this CS, he Qs towards Yasuo, and yes, he misses it, but it's a lot harder to dodge for Yas because it's almost concealed as part of Zed's auto-attack. Now Zed doesn't have his shuriken, so he backs off and only moves up to recontest the wave once Yasuo's tornado has been used. Now if we look at Zed's minions, Yasuo is clearly going to want to last hit this one in the next second or so Z99 can certainly throw a shuriken at him when he does just that, but he doesn't. This is because he wants to save his Q to last hit himself. Wasting it on Yasuo with his passive up probably isn't as worth as using it to get some free gold. Now after using his Q, the 99 stays well in range of Yasuo when he hits level 2, and this would only make sense if he was trying to bait Yasuo to get ganked. But Graves isn't here, and when he uses his Q again on the minions, he once again stays in range of Zhang and gets very low. Now it's not so bad because Zed does have 3 health potions, and if Yasuo is on this HP when Zed hits level 3, the 99 has a good chance of killing his opponent. Now if we forward it to this situation, the Jizz said earlier that this was a mistake from the 99. So can you spot it? Well, it's quite simple. Zed uses his W and E on Yasuo and this minion, so he's last hitting and damaging his opponent at the same time. Nice. But the issue here is the next minion wave. Once Zed clears these minions, as you can see, his minions are going to get held up outside of Yasuo's tower range. This is incredibly risky because he has to move so far up in the lane without his shadow. If he had it, he could have shoved it without needing Graves to share the experience, and in lower elos your jungler is not going to help you like this unless you ping them, so make sure you do. Now Z99 makes another small mistake here. After this wave gets shoved, instead of recalling for 2 more longswords, he decides to save for an extra wave so he has 750 gold for a serrated dirk. It's not the most criminal mistake, but as everyone else in the game is spending their gold for more power, you never want to overstay and miss your recalling windows because essentially in terms of items, you are the same champion you are at level 1. This continues until Z99's first death. Now there are 2 reasons the 99 hits the deck. The first, he just uses W, and even though he has flash, he is a lot more killable. The other mistake, well, we have to look at the map. He has a ward near the enemy raptor camp, so if he does get ganked, it's most likely going to be from topside, so he should be hugging the bottom side of the mid lane. This opens himself up to the Alistar gank and he does die, but the 99 is going to redeem himself with Outplay of the Century. So this is the situation where Yas is overstaying heaps, but regardless, despite ulting the Alistar accidentally, he then instantly W's away so he dodges the pulverize and quickly Qs, auto attacks with his passive and ignites the Viego, goes back to his ult shadow and then flashes away from Zhang. That got me excited. Now we all remember when the 99 ulted Yasuo here, right? And his shurikens got blocked by Zhang's wind wall. Well, when you don't have your ultimate on any champion and your opponent does, it's probably not a good idea to be in range of them, especially when a Yasuo has his tornado ready. But after almost dying, Z99's team wins this fight, which we looked at earlier, but look at how the 99 plays this. Viego, who is a primary target, is stunned, so he Qs him, and he dies. And then there is only Yasuo and Malphite left. Yasuo is obviously more important and more killable, so the 99 ults him, dodges his tornado with his Deathmark shadow, and pop. Now in terms of the downtime in the mid lane, every time Zhang moves in range of Zed's W, the 99 W and E's to pop Yasuo's passive and his bone plating if he has it. This means that next time Zed has his W, he has a better chance of taking him out. So he pops Zhang's passive here, and because Zhang uses his stacked Q on the minions, he doesn't have it to counter Zed's Deathmark. So as we know, the 99 blinks to his W, ults the Yas, and Graves secures the kill. Now in this clip we are going to see how important Yasuo's tornado is. When Zed ults Yasuo, he has his tornado but he throws it out in front of him instead of behind him, which is where the Zed will appear after ulting. This allows 99 to combo and escape, and Zhang potentially would have been able to clean up here. Now the deciding fight in this game, Z99 pops off in, and instead of running straight down the mid lane so the opponents can see him, he plays the sides of this fight. As an assassin, this is something you always want to look for. Now he tries to combo the Viego, a primary target, and then death marks the Samira, Kill her, GG. Now he immediately goes back to his Deathmark Shadow, knowing if he stays here, he'll get killed. His W comes back up and plays Zed like an AD spellcaster. He stays at range while using his abilities, and he picks up a kill, and his team follows up on the damage he did. So if this gave you an insight into how these freaks of nature play their one-trick champions, like the video, remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of these in-depth breakdowns, and make sure to check out the GameLeap website before leaving for the best challenges tier videos, courses, guides on the web. They are original, they are professionally made, and they are all for you. So sign up, links in the description and comment section, and until tomorrow's video, this has been the